Five friends went to a basketball game. They never came home. Months later, investigators found something in the snow that still doesn't make sense. One man survived alone in an abandoned cabin, surrounded by food and firewood, and still starved to death. To this day, no one knows why. This is the true story of the Yuba County Five. Welcome back to Landmark Legacy, where every place holds a story it never told. February 24th, 1978, Yuba City, California. Five close friends: Jack Madruga, Jackie Hewitt, Bill Sterling, Ted Weir, Gary Matthias. They'd all met through a local center that supported people with mild developmental disabilities. Their families and friends simply called them the boys. That night, they piled into Jack's car for something completely ordinary, a college basketball game about 50 miles away in Chico. The next day, they even had a Special Olympics tournament of their own. Their uniforms were laid out on their beds at home, ready for the morning. After the game, security cameras at a convenience store caught them one final time, buying snacks and chocolate milk for the ride home. It was the last confirmed sighting of any of them alive. The next morning, none of the five men came home. Their families called police immediately. Something was wrong. These weren't men who simply disappeared without a word. 4 days later, on February 28th, searchers found Jack Madruga's car, but not anywhere near the route home. It was stuck in shallow snow on a remote mountain highway, nearly 70 miles in the completely wrong direction. Deep into the Plumas National Forest, an area none of the men had any known connection to. Inside the car, the snack wrappers were still there. The doors were unlocked. One window was rolled down. There was still a quarter tank of gas. But the keys, and all five men, were gone. Nothing about it made sense. Why would five friends, heading home from a basketball game, end up on a snowy forest road in completely the opposite direction, and then simply vanish, on foot, into the wilderness? As investigators searched, a strange piece of testimony surfaced. A local man named Joseph Shons had been stranded in his own car that same night, not far from where Madruga's car was found. Injured and disoriented, he claimed he heard voices in the darkness, saw flashlight beams moving through the trees. He called out for help. The voices stopped. The lights went dark. Hours later, he says he saw the lights again and called out once more. Again, they vanished into silence. No one ever came to help him. When he finally recovered enough to walk for help the next morning, Madruga's car was sitting exactly where he'd seen those lights the night before. To this day, no one knows for certain if Shons really encountered the missing men, or something else entirely, in the freezing dark that winter night. For months, the search turned up nothing. Winter buried any trace of the five men under feet of snow. Then, in June, the snow finally melted. Motorcyclists exploring the forest trails made a discovery. Ted Weir's body was found inside a remote Forest Service trailer nearly 20 miles from where the car had been abandoned. Investigators determined he had survived there for weeks, possibly months, after the group's disappearance. He was wrapped tightly in bedsheets in a way he couldn't have managed alone. Someone else had been with him. And here's the detail that still haunts investigators today. The trailer had food. It had heating fuel, everything a person would need to survive a winter, sitting right there. Ted Weir starved to death anyway, just feet away from supplies that could have saved his life. Nearby, searchers found the remains of Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, and Jackie Hewitt, scattered across a 20-mile radius of wilderness. The body of the fifth man, Gary Mathias, was never found. Not then, not ever. Investigators have spent decades trying to explain what happened. Some believe the men simply got lost after taking a wrong turn in the dark, panicked, and made a series of fatal decisions in the freezing wilderness. But that theory struggles to explain the distance. 70 miles off course is not a wrong turn. Others point to witness reports from the following days, a woman who claimed she saw some of the men, along with an unidentified woman and baby, at a small store an hour away from the abandoned car. If true, it would mean at least some of the men were alive and moving days after they vanished. No theory fully explains everything, not the distance, not the trailer full of supplies, not Weir's death so close to food he never touched, not Gary Mathias, gone without a trace. To this day, the case remains officially unsolved. Nearly 50 years later, the Yuba County Five remains one of America's most bewildering cold cases. 5 ordinary friends, 1 ordinary night out, and a mystery that investigators, journalists, and true crime researchers still can't fully explain. Somewhere in that forest, in the winter of 1978, something happened that took 4 lives and left 1 man forever missing. We may never know exactly what, but their families still remember them, not as a mystery, as 5 friends who simply went to a basketball game and never made it home. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe, because at Landmark Legacy, every episode uncovers a story that still hasn't been fully explained.